I just wanted to make a video about the GM 3.0 and 3.6. Basically talk about the different problems that they have and different solutions to help you prevent certain problems and also to help you prolong the life of the engine. The one major problem these engines have is its timing chain problem. This engine has 3 timing chains. It has a primary timing chain and 2 secondary timing chains. What the chain does is keep the cams, these 4 cams and this crank, everything in alignment, because everything has to always be in alignment. And over time the chain stretches and these cams, actuators and the crank, they all go out of time and they throw like trouble codes like P0016, P0018, P0019, P0012, a whole bunch of correlation trouble codes. So what these codes are indicating is that one of these cams and crank are not in time no more, so that's why they throw correlation codes. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this channel and hit the like. It really encouraged me to make more videos like this. When you start getting a whole bunch of correlation codes, what's happening is that the timing chain has stretched so far that the tension can't keep any more tension on the chain. And when that happens is one of these cams or these 2 cams will lose its time with the crank and they'll throw correlation codes like I said, like P0017, P0016. I think for bank 1 it's probably P0017. And it's just an indicator that it's time to replace the timing chain. Once you realize that the timing chain is going bad, or once you take your car to a shop and run the codes and let you know that you have a whole bunch of correlation codes, my recommendation is to go ahead and have the timing chain replaced, because you don't want to keep driving it with a loose timing chain jumping around in there. It's just going to cause more damage later on down the road. So my recommendation is just to go get the timing chain replaced. I have done a lot of these timing chains over the years, and one thing I always notice when I take them apart, they're always nasty in the inside, like literally just nasty, a whole bunch of slush everywhere in the inside. When there's a lot of slush like that, it's just an indicator that A, the oil never get changed, or B, is a longer duration during oil changes, because all that slush is really the breakdown of the oil that's breaking down and causing everything to gum up in the engine. So I was always wondering why these engines are always nasty and slushy in the inside of it. So I did a little case study one time. I talked to about 30 of my customers that have 3.6 VVT engines and asked them, like, how do they go about changing the oil? And 24 people told me that they change the oil every time the oil monitor light says 5 or 10%, and 6 people told me that they change the oil every like 6,000 miles. They don't go according to the oil monitor, they just go according to how much miles they're putting on the oil. So at some point I took the first valve cover, the front valve cover gasket off of the 4 people that changed their oil every 4,000 or 5,000 miles, and took 4 people that changes their oil according to the GM oil life monitor. And what I noticed is those people that are changing their oil every 4,000 or 5,000 miles have really clean engine, like really not that much sludge and really clean engine. And those people that's changing the oil according to the GM oil life monitor, engine just look like crap in the inside, slush every freaking where. I did some research and found out that these engines have really poor ventilation problem. It doesn't vent that well, so what happens is because it doesn't vent that well, it causes the oil to break down a lot faster, and it causes it to burn oil a lot faster than your average engine will break down or burn oil. What you gotta understand is that oil is really crucial to these 3.6 VVT engines. These cam actuators, they all run off oil pressure. These little oil passages that go in here that actuate these cams. That's how they actuate the timing from oil pressure. the timing chain tensioners, there's 3 timing chain tensioners, and the oil also run off oil pressure. So by not having adequate oil, or by having oil gum up in these engines is really bad. What happens is it wears down the timing chain a lot faster because it's not getting as much lubricant as it's supposed to get. And these timing chains are always on high tension, so by this timing chain moving around metal on metal, it causes a lot of friction, and that friction causes heat. And what the oil does, the flow of good oil and clean engine does, it keeps these timing chain cooler, so it helps the timing chain last longer than driving around with no oil or inadequate oil or gum everywhere in the timing area. Just causes the timing chain to wear down a lot faster than it would. If you are having problems, timing chain problems, and you do have correlation codes and you have to replace your timing, when you take your vehicle in to have the timing chain done, my recommendation is always to request to have the 4 cam phases and the oil pump replaced. I know it's a little bit more, it costs a little bit more money to have it done, but believe me, if you plan on keeping your car really long, just go ahead and change the 4 cam phases and the water pump and the oil pump. At the end of the day, the fact that these cars have poor ventilation problem and always have problems with oil breaking down and gumming up, if you do all the job, you replace the timing chain without replacing these, unless they're like a couple of months down the road, one of these could fail or the oil pump could go bad. I've seen it happen. So my recommendation to my customers whenever they bring these in is always to replace the cam phases and the oil pump. Matter of fact, I won't even warranty the job if they don't replace the cam phases of the oil pump, or I won't even do the job, because I believe in doing things the right way, and this is how I like to do things. These engines are not bad engines. I feel like changing your oil at shorter interval would solve about 95% of your problems, or 95% of the problems that people are having with these GM engines. My recommendation is oil changes every 5,000 miles, full synthetic oil, and use engine flush, especially the fact that these engines are known to have bad ventilation problems, so oil kind of breaks down or faster, so engine flush will help it clean the engine up before you change the oil. A couple of other things, the fact that these engines also burn oil, I also recommend checking your oil every week, depending on how frequently you drive the vehicle. But I also recommend learning to check your oil. It's very, very important. Like I said earlier, having oil in here plays a really crucial role about how fast just parts, anything in the engine generally wears. So just knowing how to check your oil and checking your oil once a week will really, really, really help, because there's a lot of time that the people come in for oil changes on these particular cars that runs these 3.6 and 3.0, and there's really no oil in the engine. It's short like freaking 3-4 quarts. That's really not healthy. So just by changing your oil at shorter interval, you can prolong the life, or you can prolong the life of these engines really, really good. They can go a long way. I'm not gonna say there's a bulletproof engine, but I have seen some of these engines where people really take good care of them and change oil at shorter intervals, synthetic oil and engine flush, and I've seen some of these go to 160, 170 miles, 170,000 miles before needing any kind of timing chain replacement. So if you just really change your oil on a regular basis, you can take them a really, really long way.